Welcome back, everybody. This is the Hear the Unheard Digital Summit. This is your host, Austin Turner. I have a pretty special guest with me today. He is the one and only Bart Hess, Executive Director of OC United. Really excited to have this conversation and chat on the numerous important roles that you're playing during COVID-19 and playing in regards to reopening youth sports in particular. Bart, welcome to the conversation. How you doing today, sir?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, most definitely, and I appreciate your time. Let's dive right into it. Let's talk a little bit about you, who you are, where you're located, and what makes you an expert in the youth sports arena.
Well, basically, I'm located in Irvine, California, and up in Orange County. I have played sports my entire life. When I was a kid, I played football, basketball, baseball like everybody else. And at one point, I had to decide which sport I was going to take, and I decided to go with basketball, and was fortunate enough to have a scholarship for University of Washington. So I played up there and ended up going to Europe playing pro basketball. And got back and decided to shift a little bit with my kids. And my son played basketball and soccer. My daughter played swimming and soccer, and so soccer took over. So I've been in that arena for about 25 plus years.
My goodness, that's a long time in the game, and that's all been in the Irvine area?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So you're a staple. You're one of the best to talk to, I would say, in regards to Orange County, at least, or Southern California soccer. This is going to be a fun conversation. So talk to me a little bit about your role as the ED or Executive Director with OC United FC. What do you do? What's your day-to-day? What is your club size? How many members do you oversee? Nuts and bolts.
Basically, we started 20 years ago, and I started in AYSO and went up the ranks right away and decided to give an option on the club side, which had a reasonable cost, but really good training. I was extremely lucky to have the original coaches were mostly all ex-college players. And so we started off in a bang and just kept it going. Got to fight off the big guys, but that's part of it. And we give an option that they don't give, and they give an option we don't give. But it all makes sense, and it gives our families and the community a choice. So we take it very serious. We work very hard in the community. We try to give kids that may not have an opportunity in some situations to have that opportunity. I think that's extremely important when you run a nonprofit. And we've been very successful at it. So it's an enjoyable thing. I felt I've been blessed by having been able to play at the levels that I played and enjoyed sports as much as I have. I never was around soccer, and one thing led to another, and all of a sudden I'm around it and I enjoy it. So what we're trying to do is take it serious and take steps to get these kids back in a consistent way back on a soccer field and other sports into their domains. I feel it's extremely difficult if we continue to hold these kids out, not just on the parents and the families, but it's a disaster for these kids. I know from playing sports as long as I have, the physical and mental health side of it, the interaction with other kids, fitness, obesity, skill development, leadership skills, all these things are being missed. And in the political world, we're also talking about not opening up schools in a lot of cases. If you don't have sports and you don't get these kids active, school really, that wouldn't matter. And I think they go along very well together. And I'm talking both rec and competitive. Kids need to be active. They need to have that access to exercise and interaction. So I take it very serious. We've created, with a partnership down in San Diego, I got together with the supervisor down there, and we created GameOnOC.org and GameOnSoCal.org. And in that, we have a lot of different tools to make your voice heard in Sacramento, Orange County, and the other counties, and try to really get people put together and understand that these kids should not be kept from the field. And what I mean by that is we have a doctor, the medical doctor from the Ducks, and basically we have on our website a 27-page PDF explaining why these kids should be out on the soccer field and in their sports. And we are putting more data together every day, everything from the CDC saying we should be in schools, etc. So I'm taking it very serious. I'm working with the city of Irvine. I'm working with other organizations. We've got to get these kids active again. It's a disaster.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Stand in solidarity with you. And it is going to take a teamwork effort. It's good to see that you are reaching out, connecting with the community, both in the Irvine, Orange County, and then also in San Diego. I was talking with Bob Turner, and he had mentioned that he was working in conjunction with Kristen Gaspar. It's really cool to see the change and what you are doing with that Game On SoCal, Game On San Diego, Game On OC. It's really awesome, and I want to highlight that because that is, a very important movement, and it is gaining a nice little chunk of popularity here in the Southern California market. So I want to thank you very much for the work you're doing there. Let's talk a little bit about the impact from the player's perspective. And I know you had mentioned one thing that stood out to me when you were explaining where you fit into the Irvine market from a club perspective. There are a number of big fish in that pond. There's a large number of clubs or organizations in that area, and I imagine that it's very hard to find players. So I love the approach that you do. I want you to talk a little bit to the viewers about what your teams are made up of, how diverse they are. You had mentioned something earlier that you had 4 teams of 100% Hispanic players. That's incredible.
Well, I try to outreach, and I think it's very important that kids get a very mixed growing up of cultures. And I think that we need to show kids what the real world is like and how they can work together, enjoy each other, and experience different things from the different communities. And so we're very serious about outreach. I'll go over to areas where it's predominantly Hispanics and talk to folks and explain what our views are, what we're trying to do, get them incentivized to talk with other folks. There's a lot of people that just cannot afford $3,000 a year. And what we're trying to do is be that group that can help kids, but also, we have a premier team, we have multiple high-level teams. So we've had success, and the success comes from the kids. They've got to believe in it. They've got to believe in themselves. They got to believe in the system, and they're the ones that go out and do the job. So it's not that difficult if you believe in it, and we definitely believe in it. I've been fortunate with all the sports I've played, being in very diverse situations, and I grew. And I just feel that opportunity to have these kids grow it's a thing that you just can't, it's unbelievable. It's a great feeling to be able to walk down the street and feel comfortable in all the different situations because you have friends in all the different cultures.
Absolutely, yeah. It's cool. You're representing the underrepresented, especially in that area. There's being SoCal native. I know the ins and outs of Irvine, Orange County. I just moved from Laguna Beach, so seeing what you do and how you fit in and what you provide, it's remarkable. Let's touch a little bit on the players in this perspective. We're going to talk a little bit about the coaches and the parents as well. But as the ED, as the executive director, I want to know, how are the players adapting to COVID-19 and these fluid changes?
I think it's very difficult. And what I mean by that is we were on for 3 weeks, and we had extremely tight and positive, safe play on the field. And we had the 6 foot, we had the temperature checks, we had parents not around the kids, we had multiple things. We went through all the guidelines, and we even had more than what the state had. And we got a lot of that through Supervisor Gaspar's direction down with San Diego. But what happened was we were on for 3 weeks, and all of a sudden you pull the rug out from the governor, and they're gone. And so the kids, it's tough for them at young ages to figure out, what did we do wrong? We're not allowed to play anymore. We're not allowed to see each other anymore. And so it's difficult. You got to talk to them, etc. But it's very, very difficult on these kids because they did nothing wrong. They did all the guidelines that were told to them, and yet the rug's pulled out, and there's nothing in sight in Orange County from the governor. No guidelines, and that's just it's very wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't even imagine not understanding what's going on, and then all of a sudden having my entire routine tossed upside down. You had mentioned that you were working with the Anaheim Ducks team doctor on the data, the facts, the evidence, and that's a whole topic in itself that we can unpack. But there is a number of data points that lead to emotional, mental challenges. But let's talk a little bit about the physical aspect of this, right? The stagnation. Now kids, are going to go out and play soccer here at some point in the near future, hopefully sooner than later. What are the physical challenges that you are projected to see once kids actually are able to get back out on the field?
Well, the problem is you take each kid is going to be a special situation because of where they live, for instance. Do they have any opportunity to do any exercise? Are there any supervision? Are both parents working? There's multiple constraints for these kids. And what's happened is we go back to where we're not having interaction in conversations. We're having the cell phone talk for us. We're having the tablet talk for us. We're having the computer talk for us. We need to get the kids away from those mechanisms and get back to the human interaction on top of training. It's a little bit different. When I was growing up, I was driven. You didn't have to tell me to go train. Now, we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have those types of things like the kids have now. But my point is, it's very tough when you have them on for 3 weeks, then you have it off. They're just getting back into physical shape, and then you're telling them you can't do it anymore. And unfortunately, not all parents are athletic and understand what they need to be doing with their kids as far as conditioning and those types of things. So those poor kids are even further behind. So it's a tough, complex issue right now. And the tough thing is, once we come back, we got to make sure they're in condition because we don't want all the injuries.
Yeah, that's a whole other conversation in and of itself. I mean, you throw kids out there after not playing for a long time, you could have some, career-ending injuries in some
absolutely.
cases, just because of stagnation, atrophy of the muscles. Being an athlete, you being an athlete yourself, anytime you go for a long period of time without playing, you crank it back up. You have to do so gradually, or else there's opportunity for tears and other injuries. So let's talk a little bit about your communication during this pandemic, during these the distancing situations where you don't have the capability to be there in person. Have you adopted any type of digital training or digital coaching or anything like that for your club?
We have our coaches are doing that on their own. We're fortunate that they've taken this serious, and so they're working individually with each of their teams. We're sending out information to each of the teams as far as reference information, Unfortunately, the national media has just been basically pathetic on getting out real information and educational information. It's all been scare tactic type of information in most cases. And parents need something they can look at and feel like it's real information instead of wear the mask today, don't wear the mask today. Wear the mask tomorrow, don't wear the mask tomorrow. You know, we've got to get consistent information because everybody gets frustrated. What's best for my kid? How am I going to keep my kids safe? Those types of things. In the meantime, they're trying to work also. So we're trying to send out information like the PowerPoint from the medical director of the Ducks, stuff from the CDC. You know, you can't just send them to a website. If you go to the CDC website, you could be there for 3 days and not get to where you want to go. It's insanity. There's so much stuff. So we're directing them to different resources so that they can actually pull the resource themselves and take it during their time period that they're able to look at it. It's very difficult to get everybody on the same timeline when you're all over the map as far as your teams and ages.
Absolutely. Tons of moving parts for sure. That also brings an interesting perspective as well. You guys in Orange County are shut down currently, but down here in San Diego, up north of you in LA, you know, they are able to remain open under, you know, camp guidelines and the like. You know, how is the county by county approach, you know, affecting you with the club and then affecting you with the players as well? Are you losing any players? Have anybody taken off to different organizations in order to stay open, or what are you seeing with that aspect?
We're comfortable, and knock on wood, we're in good shape club-wise. The problem is you get the incidental type things on new uniforms, and you get the day-to-day stuff. You know, when are we going to get in? When is this going to happen? When's that going to happen? So, you know, you got to keep everybody happy on that side. But we have multiple clubs going into other cities, other locations now training. I mean, we have clubs in the Irvine area that are going to Oceanside to train. So, I mean, everybody's doing whatever they feel they have to do to get training in. I personally think we have to stay within our area. I can't get people to go to Oceanside. I can't get people to go to that types of distance. It's physically not possible for our teams. So we're trying to keep the contact through our coaches. We're trying to get resources and work with our parents the best we possibly can.
Love that. Yeah, it doesn't seem very fair when you have one who has the ability to commute and then you have others who don't. But I guess such is life. What is the, what are you doing?
$1,000 a player.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, that too. On top of that, what is the game on vision? Right? What's the focus with it? The game on SoCal, game on SE, game on OC. What's your goal with that?
The goal is to attract attention with Sacramento, to get them to understand that kids should not be a pawn. Kids are more important than most of the things that are open presently. And what I mean by that is, all due respect to salons, all due respect to different industries, I feel strongly that kids should be out able to exercise and take steps towards the next level. And in soccer, for instance, having that first level of training, making sure you're distancing, all those types of things, moving into 1v1, 2v2, inter-squad scrimmages, then move into scrimmages outside. And if that's working, then we move into games. We always have to keep the safety side. And to be honest with you, the last person I'm worried about as far as being at a game or at the field is the parents. They're going to have to figure it out. They're adults. They can figure it out. It's the kids we got to take care of. And It's not about winning medals. It's not about winning trophies. It's about them getting out and experiencing the sport at the best level we possibly can get them under the circumstances. We've got to focus, and maybe we make a few changes here and there, but we've got to focus on getting them out, competing again at all the different levels so that they can get that feeling and understanding and get the learning process, the mental side of it, etc. We can't let that
get
stop.
that routine back. Yeah. Got to get that routine back. You're absolutely right. I completely agree with that. And that is a very underlying point of this entire summit is getting back to the routine, getting back to the processes, getting kids back into what's going to help them develop and make them successful. Talk to me a little bit about the What About Us rally. Super excited about that. I can't wait for that to happen. Talk to the viewers a little bit about what that looks like, when it is, when it starts, where it's at, all the good stuff.
We're doing it on Saturday, August 8th. It's going to be at the Orange County Great Park. At this point, we're going to probably make it predominantly soccer, youth soccer. And we're going to take each of the clubs that are involved and put them on certain fields so that there is no mixing of players. And once we do that, we'll have a line of direction of where they go and how they get to the field, how they get back to the car, all those types of things, so that we're not cross-pathing a bunch of people because we're hoping for a very large crowd. So once we do that, we're close to having that finalized, and then we've picked one field to have several speakers, and what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the parents being listening to the speakers so that they get the reference information, they get their questions answered, and if time runs out, how they can get more questions answered. I think the education of the parents is critical. We've got to get them to understand what is and what isn't. Once we do that, while that's going on, we're going to have demonstrations of the different clubs and the different teams out on the fields where they're showing how you can do a safe training session in today's world. Distancing, mask, temperature checks, how you arrive, how you leave, all those types of things. And we're hoping to get all this filmed so that we can share that with other groups of how you can run a very safe training session in today's world and be able to keep moving up and ratcheting up the competition. Once we get that done, the plan is to get that to Sacramento so that we can show the politicians, especially the governor, how you can run a safe training session, how you can run safe games, etc., and get these kids back out on the field.
Yeah, it's just an incredible event. I'm super excited to be a part of it. I'm really excited for the actual event day itself and to be out and about and actually, being a part of leading from the front, showing that there are solutions and, being or representing that culture of yes that it takes in order to, talk the talk about reopening and getting these kids back out there. Who's invited to attend? Who's this open to? What's the primary focus?
Well, the initial focus was Irvine, which expanded into Orange County, which is now expanding down into San Diego County. Those are the focal points. We do have several up in the LA area that want to come down, Santa Monica and a few others. So it's quite a bit of Southern California, and we're very excited about that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's open for anyone that is being impacted by this. So it's awesome to see that it has expanded outside of just the Irvine area and now touching so many more households. Where can more information be found? I'll definitely plug it in the show notes, but is there a website or some place where the rally information can be found?
I think the easiest for everyone is the gameonsocal.org.
GameOnSocal.org. Awesome. I'll definitely plug that in the show notes, like I said. And talk a little bit about the guest speakers in attendance. You mentioned there are 3 of them.
we're going to have the medical director for Anaheim Ducks, and then we're going to have several of the politicians in the area to give their viewpoints, and we've got a couple others that we're talking to. I think the biggest thing that I want to accomplish, again, is the education of the parents, giving them tools so they make wise decisions. I'm not trying to cram it down to them. I'm trying to give them access to information so they can make their own decision on what their kids are going to do.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people who are, fighting the good fight. However, you're going about it the right way. You're going in meeting with the experts. Obviously, the Anaheim Ducks doctor is a huge, credible resource, and the fact that he's going to be there talking directly to parents, talking directly to the problems and the pain points, but also delivering solutions. At the end of the day, that's what Two-Footed Solutions is all about. And you definitely fit synergistically with what we're doing, having the safety protocols, showing how it can be done, and then when this is all done, let's get this in the hands of politicians up in Sacramento and see if we can get youth sports reopened. Bart, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining us on the Hear the Unheard Digital Summit.
Thank you so much for having me.